My girlfriend always avoided photos with me, but when I found out why, everything changed between us. I, 32M, had always thought I was the trusting type. I didn't mind when my girlfriend didn't want to take photos together, or when she'd prefer we not post pictures on social media. At first, I chalked it up to just being private. Some people just don't like to share their lives that way, and I was okay with that. But something about it started to feel off. Over time, it felt like she was hiding something, but I never had solid proof. There was always an excuse. I look terrible today, or I'm not in the mood for photos, or I'm not great at posing. But it was more than that. She just wouldn't. We'd been together for almost 2 years. Everything else was perfect, almost. She was smart, funny, beautiful. Her family was great, and I loved spending time with them. But the photo thing? It stuck with me. It wasn't until last weekend that I saw something that made my stomach drop. I had been out with some friends, and we ended up at a bar downtown. It was one of those hole-in-the-wall places, with dim lighting and old wooden tables. Not a place I'd normally go, but it was a fun night, and I wasn't really looking for anything out of the ordinary. As I was getting another round at the bar, I saw her. At first, I thought it was just some random girl, but then I noticed the way she was laughing. Genuine, carefree. She was sitting at a booth with a guy, someone I didn't recognize. They were close, a little too close for my liking. My first instinct was to walk over, ask her what was going on, but I froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't make myself go over to her, not yet. I wanted to be sure of what I was seeing. She leaned in, whispered something in his ear, and he smiled, his hand resting on the table just a little too close to hers. Then they both stood up, and she gave him a quick hug. I saw it then, clear as day, her arms around him, her head resting on his shoulder, the way he held her for a moment longer than was necessary. I felt like I'd been hit with a wave. The adrenaline rushed in, but my legs felt numb. I backed away from the bar, trying to stay out of sight. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought about calling her, confronting her right then and there, but I couldn't. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to hear from her. Did I want an explanation? Did I want the truth? I watched as they both left the bar together, walking out into the night, her hand in his. The tightness in my chest grew with every step they took. I had to know what this was. I wasn't going to wait around for an answer anymore. The next few hours were a blur. I went home, my mind racing. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I couldn't shake the image of them together. How long had this been going on? Was this something new, or had I just been too blind to see it? I couldn't even begin to figure out where to go from here. I couldn't sleep. I sat up, staring at my phone. My heart was pounding as I ran through 1,000 scenarios. How could she do this to me? Why would she keep this a secret for so long? I thought we were happy. I thought we were on the same page. Around 2 a.m., I decided I needed to do something. I needed answers. I had to confront her, but I knew I couldn't just go in without knowing more. I pulled up her social media, the one place I had never really looked closely at before. She kept it private, but I had seen enough to know she wasn't sharing much. Just a few posts here and there, mostly about her work or vague, inspirational quotes. I scrolled through her feed, looking for any clue that might explain what I had seen. That's when I found it. A photo. It wasn't much, a quick selfie at a coffee shop. But there, in the background, was the guy from the bar. I hadn't noticed him at first, but now that I was looking closely, I saw him clearly. He was standing just behind her, his hand resting on her shoulder in a way that felt oddly familiar. I didn't know what to make of it. Was this just some old picture? How many times had she seen this guy without telling me? Why had she never mentioned him? I stayed up the rest of the night, scrolling through her old posts, but I couldn't find anything else. Nothing that would explain what was going on. By the time the sun came up, I was exhausted, my mind spinning. I needed to talk to her. I needed to understand. But how could I even approach her without sounding paranoid? The next day, I acted like nothing was wrong. She came over in the afternoon, like she always did, bringing takeout and settling on the couch. She kissed me, and we talked like normal, but I could feel the tension in the air. I couldn't stop thinking about the guy, the way they were together, how she had kept him a secret. How long had this been happening? At one point, she got up to grab something from the kitchen, and I grabbed her phone from the table. I know, I shouldn't have, but I had to know. I quickly unlocked it. She never changed the passcode, and started scrolling. There were a few messages from friends, but nothing that stood out. Then I saw it, another message. This time from him. Had a great time last night. Can't wait for next week. Jay. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I quickly put the phone back where it was before she came back into the room. I felt nauseous, sick to my stomach. Jay. That was his name. The guy from the bar. It wasn't just a one-time thing, it was something ongoing. She returned to the couch, sitting next to me. Her eyes were bright, and she smiled like everything was fine. But I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I had to ask, but I wasn't sure how. How could I even begin to confront her without sounding completely out of my mind? I took a deep breath. Who's Jay? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Her face froze. For a second, I thought I saw guilt flash in her eyes, but it was gone so quickly I wondered if I'd imagined it. She looked down at her hands, then back at me, her expression shifting from confusion to something more guarded. Jay is just a friend. Why do you ask? I could tell she was trying to stay calm, but I wasn't buying it. Her voice trembled, just slightly, but enough for me to notice. Just a friend. I repeated. A friend you don't take photos with? A friend who you've been hanging out with without telling me. Her eyes widened, and she opened her mouth, but nothing came out for a long moment. I wasn't sure what I expected her to say, but I wasn't ready for the answer that came next. Her voice finally broke the silence. It's not what you think, she said quietly, her eyes flickering toward the window as if searching for an escape. Please, just let me explain. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I could feel my pulse throbbing in my temples. I didn't know what I expected her to say, but I didn't want to hear excuses. I wanted the truth. Explain what? That you've been keeping something from me? That you've been spending time with someone else without telling me? That you've been hiding this whole thing from me for months? My voice was starting to rise, but I couldn't control it. She looked down at her hands, fiddling with the edge of her sleeve. It's complicated. Complicated, I scoffed, leaning forward. How is it complicated? You've been hiding this from me. You've been seeing him, meeting up with him without saying anything to me, and now you're telling me it's complicated? She flinched at the accusation in my voice, and I instantly regretted the way I'd spoken to her. But it was too late to take it back. I was hurt, and I needed answers. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said softly, avoiding my gaze. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to lose you. I stared at her, waiting for her to continue, my anger cooling just slightly as I tried to wrap my head around what she was saying. Who is he? I asked again, this time more calmly. How long has this been going on? She hesitated, and I could see the internal struggle in her eyes. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. He's someone I used to be close to before we started dating. I blinked, trying to understand. Someone you were close to? I repeated. Like an ex? She nodded slowly, her gaze still on the floor. Yes, but it's not what you think. It's not like we've been secretly seeing each other or anything like that. It's just, we've stayed friends, and I didn't know how to tell you. I shook my head, feeling a wave of confusion wash over me. You've been hanging out with him without telling me, and now you're telling me this is just about being friends? How am I supposed to believe that? She finally looked up at me, her eyes pleading. I know it looks bad, but I swear, it's not like you think. We've just kept in touch, and sometimes we meet up for coffee or a quick lunch. That's it. Nothing more. But you've been hiding it, I said, my voice quieter now, though the frustration still lingered. You never mentioned him once, and you always made excuses when I asked about photos. Why not just tell me? She seemed to shrink under the weight of my words, and I could see that this was harder for her than she was letting on. I didn't want to hurt you, she repeated. I thought if I told you, you'd think it meant something more. I didn't want to jeopardize what we have, but I see now that hiding it was the wrong choice. I should have been honest with you from the beginning. I sat back against the couch, trying to absorb what she was saying. The anger in my chest had started to shift into something else. Hurt, betrayal, confusion. I felt like I didn't know her at all. How could she keep something like this from me? So, why did you never want photos with me? I asked, my voice breaking slightly. Why did you always make excuses when I suggested it? Her face softened, and she sighed. It's not that I didn't want to take pictures with you. It's just, with him, with Jay, it felt easier to hide things. I didn't want to be caught in a situation where it looked like I was hiding something. I didn't want you to think that it was more than what it was. So, I just avoided it altogether. My mind was spinning, but her words felt like they were starting to make sense. Still, it didn't sit right with me. There was something off about the whole situation, and I couldn't put my finger on it. How often do you meet up with him? I asked, my voice steady now, but the tension still thick between us. She hesitated, her fingers fiddling with the hem of her sleeve. Maybe once every couple of weeks. Just for coffee or lunch. It's not that big of a deal, I swear. Why couldn't you just tell me this? I asked, my frustration building again. Why keep it a secret? You didn't think I'd understand that you wanted to stay friends with someone from your past? Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me? I didn't want you to think it meant more than it did, she repeated, her voice barely audible. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought that if I told you, you'd think I was cheating, or that I wasn't fully invested in our relationship. And I didn't want to lose you. I looked at her, the woman I'd spent the past 2 years with, and I realized something. I didn't fully trust her anymore. There was something in her eyes that told me she wasn't being entirely honest, even if she wasn't lying. She had left things out, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than she was letting on. But I wasn't ready to accuse her of cheating. Not yet. I needed more answers. I leaned forward, my elbows resting on my knees. I need to think. I need some time to process this. She nodded, her eyes filling with guilt. I understand. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Please, don't break up with me. I didn't know what to say to that. I wasn't sure what I was feeling anymore. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust her, but a part of me kept asking, why was she hiding this? I don't know, I said quietly. I just need some time. She nodded again, standing up slowly. I'll give you space. But please, don't shut me out. I watched her leave, her silhouette disappearing through the door, and I was left alone in the silence. My thoughts were a tangled mess. The image of her with him, the way they were so comfortable together, kept replaying in my mind. And the name, Jay, kept echoing, like a ticking clock counting down to something I wasn't sure I was ready to face. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think this was just a misunderstanding. But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more I didn't know. And whatever it was, I was determined to find out. Update 1. I've been thinking about everything that happened since the confrontation. I need to figure out where to go from here, but there's a lot that's still unclear. Some of you have been asking why I didn't just confront him directly. I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. I'm still trying to piece everything together. I'll update you as soon as I have more answers. The next few days passed in a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about everything she'd told me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She'd apologized over and over again, promised she'd never intentionally hurt me, but the more I thought about it, the more questions I had. I still hadn't confronted Jay. I kept telling myself that I needed time to process things, but a part of me knew I was just avoiding it. I wasn't ready to face whatever the truth might be. What if she was hiding even more from me? What if this whole thing was bigger than I could comprehend? And then, one night, something happened. Something I wasn't expecting. I was sitting in the living room, scrolling through my phone, when I got a message. It was from a number I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was some kind of spam, but then I saw the first few words. Hey, I think we need to talk. It was Jay. I froze, staring at the screen for what felt like an eternity. What the hell was going on? Why was he reaching out to me? I couldn't just ignore it. I had to know what this was about. I had to know what he knew. I texted back, my hands shaking slightly. Why? What do you want to talk about? A few seconds passed before the reply came in. I think you need to know the full story. We can't keep pretending like everything's fine. Meet me tomorrow at the cafe on 5th. I'll explain everything. I didn't know what to think. I was angry, confused, and scared all at once. Why the hell was he getting involved now? Why couldn't he just leave this between me and her? But deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't keep pretending I wasn't curious about what was really going on. The next day, I went to the cafe. I arrived a little early, trying to get my nerves in check. I hadn't told her about the message. I didn't know how to. The truth was, I wasn't sure what I was going to do after meeting him. Would I confront him? Would I hear him out and hope he could give me some answers? He showed up right on time, sliding into the seat across from me without a word. He looked different than I expected. Less confident, less smug. If anything, he looked uncomfortable, almost guilty. Thanks for meeting me, he said, his voice hesitant. I didn't say anything at first, just stared at him, waiting for him to speak again. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I broke the silence. Why are you here? What do you want? He shifted in his seat, looking down at his coffee cup before meeting my eyes again. I think you need to know the truth. About everything. About her and me. I don't want to be part of some secret anymore. I clenched my fists, trying to hold it together. What does that even mean? Is she cheating on me? He shook his head quickly. No, it's not like that. It was never like that. I leaned forward, desperate for answers. Then what the hell is it? Why the secrecy? Why the lies? He let out a slow breath. Because she's been hiding this from you. Not because she doesn't care, but because she didn't know how to explain it. You see, she's not just with you. She's with both of us. My mind went completely blank, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. What? He took a deep breath, as if preparing himself to say something he knew would hurt. She told you the truth, sort of. We've been friends for a long time, but we've also been more. She and I, we have a history. But when she met you, she decided to choose you. She told me she wanted to make it work with you, but we've never really stopped seeing each other. I sat back, my head spinning. You've been seeing her behind my back this whole time? He didn't meet my gaze. No, not exactly. We both agreed that we'd stay friends, and that's all it was supposed to be. But there were moments, when you weren't around, when we just slipped back into what we used to be. It wasn't planned. It wasn't cheating, exactly, but it wasn't fair to you. I get that now. I could barely process his words. This was too much to take in all at once. My stomach churned, and I felt like I was going to throw up. How had I been so blind? She had been keeping this from me, living this double life. And he too. He was just as guilty, lying to me as much as she had. But at least he was here, admitting it. I respected that, even if it didn't change what had happened. So what now? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. What am I supposed to do with this information? He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of regret and uncertainty. I don't know, honestly, but you deserve the truth. You deserve to hear it from someone other than her. She didn't want to hurt you, but I don't think she could keep pretending anymore. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, but I wasn't sure who had dealt the blow. Him, her, or both of them. My mind was reeling, but there was one thing I was sure of. I couldn't go on like this. I couldn't continue pretending I didn't know what was happening. I stood up abruptly, shaking my head. I need to talk to her. I can't do this right now. Thanks for telling me, I guess. He nodded, his expression grim. I'm sorry. I really am. I left the cafe without another word, the weight of everything crashing down on me. As I walked back to my car, I realized I wasn't even angry anymore. Not at him. Not at her. Just lost. I didn't know what to feel. The woman I loved had been keeping a secret from me. Not just one, but two. And now, everything was out in the open. When I got home, she was already there, sitting on the couch. She looked up when I walked in, her face pale, as if she knew something had shifted. I didn't waste any time. We need to talk. She nodded, her eyes brimming with tears. I know. I've been so scared to tell you everything. I sat down in front of her, my heart pounding. I know everything. I spoke to him. Her face crumbled, and the tears started to fall. I'm so sorry. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want you to find out like this. I never meant to hurt you. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Why didn't you tell me? Why keep this from me for so long? She wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. Because I didn't know how. I didn't know how to explain that it was more complicated than I thought. I didn't want to lose you. I thought I could keep both of you in my life without it falling apart. But I was wrong. I stared at her, trying to figure out what to say next. What do you say to someone who's been hiding such a huge part of their life from you? How do you move forward from something like this? The truth, for better or worse, was out. And now, I had to decide whether I could keep living in this mess or walk away. Update 2. After everything, I needed time. We're not together right now. I don't know if we will be again, but I'm taking it day by day. The trust is broken, and I don't know how to fix that. I'll update if anything changes, but for now, I'm just trying to figure out what's best for me.